Hello and good morning or early afternoon, wherever you happen to be today. Thank you for joining us today. We will begin our webinar on the hour in about 5, 6 minutes. So thank you, and we'll be ready to start then. Hello again to anybody who's just joining us. Thank you for joining us again. Our webinar, pardon me, will be beginning in just a couple of minutes. Give a few more folks time to join us. Thanks so much. All right, it is now 12, and so we will begin our webinar. Thank you all so much for joining us today. My name is John Blackham. I work for Covia's marketing team. You may have seen some of my work in blogs, case studies, etc., kinds of client-facing documents, pardon me. And yes, I'll be our host and MC today, and I'm excited to introduce for us our presenters today. So today's presenters are going to be Kazim Nouri, our very own solution specialist here at Ecovia. Kazim focuses on refugee resettlement programs, and he has helped build statewide case management systems for Kentucky, Missouri, Wisconsin, and Louisiana, and is a former employee of the Kentucky Office of Refugees. He was a consultant for system improvements and data analysis, and he has a Bachelor of Arts in Communications. And our guest speaker today is Linda House. And Linda has a storied career in this role. Prior to her role currently she is the Assistant State Refugee Coordinator for the Missouri Office of Refugee Administration, prior to which she had served as the State of Missouri's Department of Social Work. She was a Program Development Specialist for over Family Medicaid, TANF, and Refugee Resettlement, as well as several other programs, as you can see in her biography here. And she notes, straight from the horse's mouth, such as it is, during her illustrious and somewhat hectic former life, she was involved in several database systems, platform changes, upgrades, testing, and we have a delightful note about arguing with programmers, which she finds, strangely enough, exciting. Thank you so much, Linda, for joining us, and we are very excited to hear from you as well as from Kazim. And throughout the webinar, if you have any questions for us, feel free to submit them in the questions tab. And at the end of the webinar, we will have a few minutes of question and answer for a question and answer session, and we will field those questions at that time. And if we aren't able to get to your question, we'll provide Kazim's contact info for you at the end of the webinar, so you can email him your question directly if we're not able to get to it. So without any further ado, I would like to turn the time over to Kazim.
All right, thank you very much, John. And welcome everybody to our today's webinar. In the past 7 years, I have been working with several states, as John named some of them, and I have helped them build statewide refugee resettlement solutions. Currently, we are working with about 8 states, and we are engaged in a few other states talking about their statewide refugee resettlement solutions. And throughout these years, we have identified that there are some main challenges that refugee resettlement agencies in overall, both at the local level and also at the state level, they are facing. On the screen, you can see the main challenges that we have identified that these agencies are facing. And one of those is the data collection and reporting process. Most of these states that we are talking to, they have really a hard time to create a data collection process and also a reporting process that really can help them deliver the services and also generate their reports in a right way that's required by the ORR. The other part of the challenge is the systems and tools. Most of states, unfortunately, still don't have a system that could support a good resettlement case management for them. And there are still agencies, and even at the state level, that they are using Excel spreadsheets for their refugee resettlement programs. Another challenge is the data analysis, so which goes back to those first 2 challenges. So if you don't have really a good data collection process and you don't have the right tools and systems, you will have really big challenges when it comes to data analysis, and you're not able to extract your data in a meaningful way. which all of these challenges cause really a lot of time challenges for the agencies and also resources. So not having a good data collection process, not having a good system will result into not having a good data analysis process, which also causes a lot of time and resources on your end. So if you can relate to any of these challenges, you have come to the right place, because today we will talk about how we have helped different states overcome these challenges by designing a solution that we specialize in, that we want to focus on the back end so that our clients and resettlement agencies can focus on the great work that you guys are doing on the front end helping refugees. One of those states that we work with is the state of Missouri, that today, luckily, we have Linda Haas with us on the call. Linda will talk about quickly about the refugee resettlement programs in the state of Missouri and how Client Track system has helped them overcome those challenges that we just mentioned. And then we will also talk about the most recent changes in the reporting requirements from ORR. And we will also, at the end of the towards the end of the webinar, we will focus on, we will look at an example of a part of the ORR 6 reports. So with that, I will turn it to Linda to talk about Missouri's experience with Client Track. Linda, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, good, good. Sorry, I'm speaking to you from my vacation in Colorado. So I am as noted earlier, I am the Assistant State Refugee Coordinator for Missouri Office of Refugee Resettlement. We're the replacement designee for Missouri. Missouri is a mid-sized destination state for arrivals. We generally rank around 17th or 18th in arrivals on a yearly basis. And I was previously the Assistant State Refugee Coordinator with Missouri's Department of Social Services when the Refugee Resettlement Program was state administered. So being in both worlds has allowed me to clearly see differences in administration of the program. One of the things I've noticed is state administered programs generally have a longer process to adapt data systems to ORR requirements, and most do not have statewide case management systems available to be utilized by their subcontractors, especially states of our arrival size. Even individual agencies have bare bones systems, as Cosm noted. As an RD, we reviewed our hodgepodge of data systems throughout the local resettlement agencies and other subcontractors and determined we needed a reliable, standardized, and measurable system that was also user-friendly and easily adaptable to ongoing changes to federal requirements. We wanted a system where users must enter information necessary for federal reporting, but they also have the ability to use the system for other programs, such as reception and placement. Client Track meets all those needs and more. The users have expressed the usefulness of the system, especially the additional program enrollment listing that shows other programs the client may be eligible for. And Cosm will show that to you later. ORR, which is what we call ourselves, funds the Client Track system through cash and medical assistance. And we've been told that our ORR1 cost estimate is one of the lowest submitted to ORR, just for an FYI. Client Track is also adaptable, especially when needing to meet the revised ORR 5 requirements, as well as the recently modified family self-sufficiency requirements. So one of the great things about this, as I mentioned earlier, was it's case management based. This is a true case management system, also allowing users to do a separate eligibility determination, including a budget for refugee cash assistance. This system allows pathways to fulfill FSSP requirements, as well as other program requirements. There's multiple assessment types, such as financial assessments for reception and placement, family assessments, employability assessments, youth mentoring assessments, and others. These are measurable and allow follow-up reminders to review and show measurable improvements over time, which is extremely important. The standardized performance measurements are made possible then because those assessments allow for standardized measurements so the agencies can report on performance measures that are used throughout the state as well as verifiable. So we're really looking for standardized measurements that we could use to have good data. It's adaptable to meet specific needs. We've been able to use the system to produce the necessary requirements for the FSSP and the OR5, with some adaptations in the works to enhance a few areas. As you may know, the FSSP contains elements that different departments in a resettlement agency may address. So this system allows multiple users to complete sections. Reporting capabilities let us determine which areas may need attention. And the system also generates user tests that a user can assign to another person and can be reviewed by a supervisor for completion. We have multiple users and security levels. Multiple agencies can use the systems. Security levels allow limited use, and the agencies cannot see another's clients with the exception of avoiding duplication. We've done upgrades, and additions done in-house. Additional drop-down choices can be added to different fields, as well as work groups and adjustments to individual user access options. We have what's really nice about this is there's training and production sites for all users. This is extremely important, not readily available with other systems. This allows agencies to train new staff without using live data, and trainings can be recorded while protected health information. Agencies can do test runs for reports, scenarios, etc., without looking at real data, and it allows for testing of upgrades prior to syncing those upgrades to the production site. The help tools allow for tiered support, so it's easy fixes or misunderstandings can be resolved before going up the change, and there's easy reporting capabilities. It's click and drop, no SQL, whatever that means. I know it's my dream come true, no SQL. Agencies are free to run reports for their agencies, and it's a great way to provide quick quality control and note areas where additional training or technical support may be needed. I'm going to go to the next slide, please. So one of the things we're doing for the OR5 requirements, for the revised ones, on stage, we're doing in 2 stages because we're wanting to review the second stage with the agencies before we implement any changes we might need to the system or any upgrades. But for stage 1, part of that OR5 request that we capture the English ability and education levels for all in intake and assessment. As you all know, in the resettlement arena, there are varying forms of engagement under refugee support services, and to simplify catching this information, we're going to just add these fields or catch this information in the demographic sections of the intake and assessment, that it's on all clients receiving ORR services. This makes sure that we get it, we have it, and it also makes sure that we don't have to revise other areas whose options under these categories are more related to other standard grant requirements. The English ability and education levels required for the OR5 vary significantly from other funding sources, so we didn't want to mess up any other types of or having to do qualities, charts, or things like this. So we thought this made it much easier, and we could make sure that people got the information in without having to go to additional screens. And so we're going to be adding it in between where it says primary and secondary language, and then the language field below there. And we're going to make that as a mandatory field. So we'll just collect that information on everybody. Now on the next slide, we're going to capture the primary goal, the new primary goal requirement on this goal screen. A filter is being added to ensure only one primary goal per client is allowed. So we'll have that captured also. With the changes we are making, we envision that the OR5 completion time to be greatly reduced. As the administrative agency, it generally takes me approximately 3 weeks to complete this report once agencies have turned in the first submission. And this has been prior to using Client Track. So it's a very long and tedious report collection, and we're only a mid-sized state, so I can't envision what it's like for other states. Most of this time is spent in communicating back and forth regarding suspect or incorrect data, and using my detective capabilities to assess and complete faulty information. This system instead allows me to review uploaded data to help correct suspect data immediately. And we may still compile some reports based on agencies and merge them, which we can do with this system. And this is the first year utilizing the system fully. So we still have some data from outside our system to incorporate from other subcontractors not in this system. But still, with all these caveats, I expect my time in this report to decrease to less than 1 year this first year and down to 1 to 2 days, or hopefully 1 to 2 hours thereafter. The additional plus factor is it'll be much easier to teach others to produce this report as well as the other ones we compile for ORR. And that's a big plus, because if when I leave, someone else has to do all this, and it's easy to train other people to do this. It's very self-explanatory. We can set in these reports and push a button. It's wonderful. And that's my spiel.
All right, thank you very much, Linda. Appreciate it. So Linda talked about those different challenges and how easy ClientTrack is to incorporate some of the changes when it comes to additional requirements or new changes from a funding source, not only for the ORR reports, but also for any other programs that you might have. Putting all these together, the challenges that we discussed at the first slide and how ClientTrack can help you overcome those challenges, we can say that there are two main factors that makes a good database. First of all, an easy data entry process, and second, an easy reporting process. And that's where we focus. That's how we have designed ClientTrack. For any kind of new changes that comes not only to the ORR reports, but as I said, if you have additional funding sources that you are using for different programs, the way the solution is designed, that first of all, any change that comes, we look at the differences of the new changes from the previous report. For example, for the ORR reports, looking at the differences from the previous reports, our system's flexibility allows that, as Linda was mentioning, that it's very easy for in-house administrators to make some of those changes. And beside that, we also offer a lot of other learning venues for local administrators, and also support services that can help you not only analyze those differences, but also incorporate those changes into your system. Those changes could be in two sections. First, the changes could be in the client's demographic data that our client-centered design approach of the system can help you do that. So client-centered database approach for our design is that the whole system is based on a main record about your client. An example of that, again, was for the ORR 5, English language ability and education level is something that if you change at the client demographic level, that can help you use that information not only for one report, but also for any other reports that comes that might need that data element. So, and you don't have to enter that information in multiple places. If you make that change as part of the client demographic data, you can use that throughout the system. And the second changes could be part of a specific program. For example, it could be an RCA changes or SS or other ORR funded programs. And for those type of changes, our solution offers very easy to use admin tools. We call it setup data management tools. And these tools can help local admins to do those changes very quickly and easily without the knowledge of any coding or SQL or any type of coding in general. Setup data management tools can help you create a new program very easily and start enrolling your clients into that program. And whenever that program stops, you can simply put an end date to that program. That will save the historical data, but the program will not be available for future enrollments. Another type of changes could be in the report formats. And for that, we offer very flexible reporting tools. There are two levels of reporting tools. One is for average users. We call it Data Explorer, that we will be looking at later on. And the other one, we offer very complex and advanced query designer for local administrators. So those changes could be made at both of those levels depending on the complexity of those changes. Linda was talking about the ORR 5, but I want to talk a little bit about the new ORR 6. As an example, we will be using the ORR 6 Schedule C. We will look how our system has helped our customers to incorporate the new changes into ORR 6 Schedule C. And as a person who used to do this report for the state of Kentucky, I understand the complexity of this report and how time consuming it can be if you don't have a good system. So there have been states that prior to using ClientTrack, they used to spend weeks to do only this part of the report, Schedule C. But with ClientTrack, I can show you later that we can literally do this complex report within just minutes. So with that, I will jump into the system and show you how that really works. This is our ClientTrack software. And if we look at the ORR reports, let me actually bring up that new ORR Schedule C report that we will be using as an example. And we can look at different sections and how we can utilize ClientTrack to do this. First of all, this is the new ORR 6 Schedule C report. It has 3 sections, as you know, section A, B, and C. Section C is more about the trend analysis. Having the right data in section A and B can really help you do good quality trend analysis for section C. So the more accurate and the better in quality your data is for section A and B, the better your section C would be when you are doing the trend analysis. So in ClientTrack, we have broken down this ORR 6 Schedule C report in these. We have designed it based on these breakdown. First of all, for the section E, it's more of a employment services reports. So this is how the service setup looks like in ClientTrack. As you can see, first of all, this is a dashboard of a test client. A dashboard is a quick overview of a client case file, but whenever they receive any of those ORR services, I can simply go to the services menu and click add new and click link a service to one of the programs that they are part of. And second, this is how you can break down those services based on different programs. So as you can see, when I select English language training as a program under the associated enrollment, the list of services for that program will show up here. But if I select a different program, the list of the services will change. So depending on what service they are receiving today, you can simply click here and click the name of the service, put a service date, and if there are some services, for example, it could be RNP services if you want to put a dollar amount to it, or if you're recording the donated items to your clients that you want to track a dollar value with it, or for example, if you're giving them bus tickets that you want to track the dollar value for those items into the system, you can also do that. But there are services that you don't want to include any dollar value with it, so you can simply leave that open by the default value and click save. So that's how easy it is to create those services. So different services for employment services on the ORR 5 for employment, on the job training, English language instruction, and vocational trainings. All of those are already set up in ClientTrack under different programs, and that is the way to create those services for ORR 6 report. And when we come to the report, for example, I want to generate a report to do that service section. We go to our reporting tool. You can simply create a new question. Let's say name it ORR 6 Schedule C question A. And then when you create the question. Here is where the name of your question appears, and the reporting tool gives you a set of report domains, what we call. So these report domains are like buckets of data that they include different types of data from different sections of the database. So right now we are looking for Schedule C services, and I know that it goes under the services report domain. So if I click on the services, I have access to different fields or data elements that we collect during recording a service. I can simply pull up the elements that I need. For example, for this report, I need the client ID, I need their first name, their last name, the service that they received, and the service date. And then I can add a filter. I'm looking at a list of specific services for ORR reports, 1, 2, 3, 4 reports. So we have included those reports as a one category under the service screen. So if I just select service screen and go add a filter, I'm looking at specific set of services. So that is under service screen, and we have named it ORR 6 Schedule C services. If I click that and click show me, these are all the services that different clients have received, for example, at different on different dates, and you can add filters to look at specific time frame for the service date. There are a total of 18 in this example. Now, if I want to break this down by services, I can either export this to Excel, or I can visualize this right here within the system. I can simply break it down by the type of the service. If I drag the service and drop it in the x-axis, and drag the client ID and drop it in the y-axis, it will create a chart for me, but this is not the right type of chart that I want. I can click on chart type and change it to something that makes more sense. For example, a column chart in this example. Now it has broken down those services for me by the service type. So employment services, English language and instructions, on the job training, and vocational training. I can also right click on this and view data to look at the actual numbers of services, how many services provided in each of those categories. Or if I need this not only for the ORR 6 report, but also for a presentation, I can simply click here and export this chart as an image, and that I can use for a presentation or something. But additionally, I can always export this to Excel if I need to do additional analysis on my data. The other section of the ORR 6 report for the services is total reporting period unduplicated services. So from these 4 types of services, what is the total number of unduplicated services that was provided? You could simply do that in Excel, but also ClientTalk offers a better way to do that. And to do that, for example, I want to delete all of, or this could be a separate question if you need to. I, for example, want to delete all of these. I can simply go to add the service and client ID and right click on this and do a distinct count for the client ID. And if I run it this time, instead of that, it gives me the total number of services provided in each category. So that is a distinct count of each category, which could be used as an unduplicated total for that section. The next section of the report is employment services, which is one of the most complicated report sections overall, I would say, in ORR 6. Because you need to break down the employment services by the type of the cash assistance that they are receiving, and also break down them by the different time range based on their arrival date. And you also need to break it down further by the classification of the job, whether it's a full-time job and a part-time job, And even you need to answer the question that how many of them have been terminated from that program or the cash assistance when they got those jobs or during that reporting period. So first of all, on the data entry side of it, what we have done in Client Track, we have created an enrollment section that you can enroll your clients into those different programs. For example, my client is currently enrolled in these 5 programs, and for the cash assistance, for example, they are enrolled in TANF. And if I want to know what additional programs they are eligible for, I can come here and click on program eligibility, and the system, it tells me based on the data that it has on my client, it tells me what other programs my client is eligible for. So this is called a program eligibility engine, which comes with the system, and based on the data that you enter about your client, you can create certain eligibility criteria for each program. For example, for this one, and here it looks like all clients are eligible for this, but for this one, you can see that there are different rules for this client, for this program, in order for a client to be eligible for it. And one of them is that they make sure that the client is not currently enrolled in RCA, TANF, or SSI. So as you can see that my client is currently enrolled in TANF, that's why they are not eligible for that program. So you can create those eligibility criteria for each program and link it to that program, and the system can automatically tell you what program they are eligible for. So that's the program enrollment portion of it, and you can enroll them in different programs that they are eligible for just by clicking here and selecting the program that you are looking for. And then the ORR 6 report also is linked to the employment. So once they are enrolled in the right program, right employment program, or the right cash assistance program, when they get a job, you can go to employment and job placements and create a job placement and link those to the right employment program and the right cash assistance program. So when your employment team will create any job placements, when they click on add new, you can see these first 2 options. They called associated cash assistance and associated employment enrollment. So this indicates that what program the client was enrolled in the cash assistance category when they got this job, and also what program they were enrolled in when they were receiving the employment service. So these could be different, and you can classify what programs could be displayed under these drop-down lists as a cash assistance option and as an employment enrollment option. And as you can see that with each of these drop-downs, I have the date option, and those are the dates that my client was enrolled in that program. So and also this field is required. So unless the program enrollment is created before a job placement, the employment team will not be able to create a job placement. That ensures that all of your data for the job placements are correct. So again, on the job placement, there are a lot of other information that helps you collect and create your ORR 6 reports. Things like, what job is this? Is this their first job, second job, or third job under the selected employment program? So as you know, a client might get multiple jobs while they are enrolled in an employment program. But we want to make sure that employment teams record that, what job this is as part of that enrollment, because we want to do the 90-day follow-up for our reports based on the first job. So a client can have multiple jobs under the same employment, but we need to know what job it is. Down here, we collect information about their wage, about their hourly wage, weekly wage, and how many hours they work a week, about their childcare information if applicable, and additional comments. So once all of those job information is recorded in the system, then we can look at the reporting side of it, that how easy it is to create this report. So if I click on Data Explorer again, first of all, I see all the previous questions that I have created, and I can rerun them. For example, the previous question that we just created, ORR 6 Schedule C question A, that is saved here. I can come next time and run this again. And so what I have done before this webinar, I have created a similar question just to save some time, ORR 6 Schedule C question B. And for this, I have already selected all the data elements that I need on my report for the section B on ORR 6 Schedule C. And you can see I'm pulling information from two different report domains that we were talking about earlier. Job placement information, all that information that we reviewed earlier on the job placement form, things like their associated cash assistance, associated employment services, and hourly, their average weekly hours. Everything else that is needed to produce that report has already been captured in the system and have been added to this report template. I have also included some filters for the start and end date of my report. So you can simply click that, create filters for your start and end date of the reporting period. And every time that you come and rerun this report, all you need to do is click on Show Me and add put in the dates that you want to run this report for. For example, I want to run this report for this date period. Let's say March 31st, 2021. That could be your actual reporting period for the twice a year reporting period that now we are doing for ORR overall. So there are 27 results found, and it includes all the data elements that I need to generate this section B of the report for ORR 6 Schedule C. And to do that, I simply export this to Excel. I'll show you how easy and quick it is to actually create generate that whole section, section B for ORR 6. This is how my data will look like in Excel when I export it. So I simply, because I have done this, as I said, for state of Kentucky for many years, so I'm familiar with this report. Simply change the dates to a short date format. Then I go and insert a pivot table from this for my section B. First of all, I want to break it down by the type of cash assistance that they're receiving. So I go to associated cash assistance and put it as a row. And I want to also break it down by the job classification, whether it's a full-time job or a part-time job. So I simply drag the classification and put it in the column section. And then I drag the client ID, which is a unique ID generated by client track, and put it in the value section and change its setting from sum to count. So it counts it for me. Full-time, part-time breakdown. And then I also want to break it down by the month range, because the month range is different for different programs. So we have already created a custom month range formula in the system that calculates that based on the arrival date of clients and based on the program type. So if I simply drag the month range and drop it under the associated cash assistance, you can see it breaks down every program by that month range. For example, in the new format of ORR 6, we don't need a breakdown of month range because it's for 8 months only. But for TANF and no federal cash, they want a breakdown of 0 to 12 months and 13 to 60 months. And we have incorporated that requirement already in the system, that you don't need to do that calculation manually. All you need to do is drag that month range filter and put it here. It will break it down by the program type, by the requirement on the ORR 6. So now the other section of ORR 6 also asks that of these total numbers, how many of them have been terminated from the program. For that grant termination, we have also created a formula that looks for the exit date of the client's enrollment. So all I need to do is look at grant termination. See if I can find that. Grant terminated, I'll put it as a filter. So for now, for the first part of filling out that report, I am looking at all clients because I want to see everyone, not only the ones who have been terminated. So this is a breakdown of no federal cash, how many full-time, how many part-time, and so on for every cash assistance program. And if I need to break it down by grant terminated, after I fill out these cells here for all 3 programs, then what I can do is simply go and select the filter for the ones who have been terminated from their program. So click yes and click OK. Now it gives you the number of full-time and part-time and grand total of the clients who have been terminated from their cash assistance. So that's how easy it is to do this whole section. And to save some time, what I have done on a separate document, I have also created similar pivot tables for other sections of the ORR 6 Schedule C. As you can see, this one is for question B, section part E, which is for their average starting wage. So simply from that set of data that I exported earlier, I look at the full-time, part-time breakdown and their average wage. And for question B's part F, I'm looking at their healthcare health benefits that are available to them or not. And for question B, part G, I'm looking at their whether their employment follow-ups. How many full-time and part-time employees were employed at their day 90? Yes, no, with those numbers that you can use all of those different tabs to fill out this report. So as you saw in the demo, it literally took me just a few minutes to do this whole report for part A, part B, all this breakdown, the full-time, part-time, and grant termination breakdown, all of these sections from the same data set that we already collect all the data elements for them. And now those data points from part A and B can help you do a trend analysis. All right, and with that, I think we are right at time for questions.
All right, thank you so very much, Kazim and Linda, for working through these updates with us and helping us understand them. Now, want to remind you that if you do have any questions, do feel free to reach out to Kazim and go ahead and email him. His email is shown here. And just to ensure that we're able to dedicate the time necessary to answer whatever questions you may have. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you all at our next webinar. Thank you so much.